Now, this next one I've been holding off on talking about for a long time because it's really interesting, but I didn't feel like I was able to do it justice. So the thing I want to talk about is Streamlit. With Streamlit, the idea is it allows you to build much simpler data science applications and web apps, I guess you would say. So many people come to Python from, I've got a little bit of computation that I got to do. And so I'm going to write a script that does like 10 things. Maybe it doesn't even have a function. It just does load data, transform data, pivot data, show graph, or something like that, right? Really, really simple. They're not like pro web developers that are like busting out Vue or React or something like that to build cool apps. But they've got this really cool outcome with Python and they're happy. But at the same time, they would like to have this publicly shareable. They maybe want to put it on the internet. They want to make a web app out of it. And the gap from I've got 10 lines of code that outputs a graph to I have a fully interactive, dynamic, server-backed JavaScript front-end type of visual website, that's a big gap, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Streamlit...
Even for me, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, for me as well. Now, for Streamlit, the idea is that you write the code in the simple, straightforward style that I talked about, but then it turns it into an interactive web application.
Oh, that's neat.
That sounds neat, right?
Yeah.
And it does a whole bunch of really interesting tricks to let you continue to write code in this simple, straightforward way, and yet interact with like callbacks and stuff. So you might have a function that comes along. It says, okay, what I need to do is I want to show, I don't know, a drop-down list in a web app or a slider bar or something like that. And then you write your code that says, get the value from the slider bar. And you might think, okay, well, normally that's wait for the user to click on the slider bar, and when there's a change or some kind of callback, and then you have some function that runs on the callback and then it updates the DOM, right? But this is like straightforward procedural code or imperative code that doesn't have any of those ideas in it. So what it does is it uses interesting caching on your function so that if it were to rerun it with the same inputs, it gives you the same answer instantly, like LRU cache type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then if any of those controls on the web page change, it just reruns the whole script. And when you say, get me the value from the slider, it says, well, currently the slider is set at this. And if it happens to change, it just reruns the entire thing from beginning to end. But because everything's cached, it only recomputes the parts that are needed. So you don't have to think about callbacks. You don't have to think about user interaction. You just write top to bottom code. And here you've got multiple parts of your application that can be changed dynamically that just continue to refresh, and it refreshes it by using JavaScript. So it doesn't even reload the page. It just looks like parts of the page are dynamic and coming alive.
Oh, wow. This is neat.
Yeah. So it's super cool. Basically, if you can write like straightforward top to bottom code that works with like graphing or pandas or something like that, you now can create a single page, a spa app. And I don't remember what JavaScript framework it uses. It's like React or Vue or something like that. I think it might be React. Anyway, it's not super relevant, but it does all of that work with like hosting it and creating the server callbacks and setting up the JavaScript and the UI widgets and all that kind of stuff. And all you do is write basically procedural code. One thing that I think is a danger of these types of applications is it's easy to say, if you use our magic graphing library and our magic UI widgets and our magic, data processing library, not a real database, but our magic server database that we create, then it works, right? Yeah. What I like about this is it doesn't do any of those things. It just says, you want to use pandas and NumPy and Plotly or something like that, use those. And then use them in your script. And then we just make it this single page app, which is pretty awesome.
So is this that was my question. Is this a hosted thing, or can I do it like behind a firewall or a local thing, or do you know?
Yes. So with Streamlit, you have a couple of options. I haven't done anything myself, but you can self-host it or they'll host it for you, I believe. Okay. And they have this thing called For Teams, which is like they automatically deploy and manage the apps, and you just create them and say, here's the code and run it. It's like kind of a platform as a service for Streamlit apps type of thing. That's a paid part of what they're doing. But the stuff I described up until then, that is free and open source. So it's still pretty usable. Yeah. So you have to basically deploy them yourself. But they talk about how to do it. You know, it's not super hard.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So I had one of the guys, Adrian, on, who is behind this and has also done some other interesting technical programming stuff and with self-driving cars and folding at home, those types of things, on Talk Python just a couple of episodes ago. I don't remember exactly what number it was, but I guess 260-ish, something like that. So just check out that episode if people want to go much deeper. But this is really cool. If you're writing these imperative, simple little scripting apps and you're like, I would really like to share this or make it better, Streamlit's cool.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this segment of the Python Bytes podcast. This video was made during the recording of the full episode. Visit pythonbytes.fm and get the whole story. Subscribe to the podcast and get the entire episode delivered to your phone. Please support our work by taking one of the courses at pythonbytes.fm/courses or learning PyTest with Brian's book at pythonbytes.fm/PyTest. Finally, visit our sponsor shown on the screen here. Visit the link on the screen and get the special offer for Python Bytes and YouTube listeners. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.